There's already a bunch of different ways to play a Nintendo Switch, and it looks like the system may be getting one more after an exchange between a fan and Konami France. It looks like download play, local ad hoc multiplayer, may be a part of the Switch's arsenal. Gabe, this is something that the 3DS did very well. The DS did equally well before it. Basically where you have one copy of the game, sometimes two copies of the game, but you're able to play locally through local ad hoc where the systems are interfacing with each other directly. And it created some really cool scenarios where, specifically in single cart, you could share the game and get access to a limited multiplayer mode, which I used multiple times with my brothers.
Yeah, and I've told the story, I don't know if it was like on this channel or just, off air, about how I saw a bunch of people playing Mario Kart once at a movie theater, and I was very jealous because I couldn't play with them. But they were playing ad hoc, they were playing with like maybe one or two cartridges also. Like, I don't think like everybody had the game. So, like, it's interesting. But the tweet that we're referencing, which we'll put on the screen, like you said, it's a fan and Konami France just having an exchange. The wording is kind of weird. The fan asks, local multiplayer with one game, and the Konami France just says yes. It could mean
an exclamation point.
Yes, with an exclamation point. Very, very excited about it. But like I said, the phrasing leaves it kind of open to interpretation, because local multiplayer with one game could easily mean like, hey, me and you are playing and we each have a Joy-Con and it's one game on one screen, and that's local multiplayer with one game. So we don't know if that's what they're talking about, but since they have done this in the past with the 3DS, like, I think it'd be fantastic if they somehow make it work with the Switch.
Oh, it would be amazing, and it definitely didn't limit 3DS sales, as you see. You have to have a 3DS in order to do that. So all it does is encourage eventually more software sales. basically in theory, like a rental system for your friends or family to check out the game that you're already enjoying. I do look at this tweet, and because Super Bomberman R is a single screen game for the most part, it's perfectly suited to local multiplayer with one game, being two Joy-Cons. But let's assume that Konami was talking about some form of, download play or some sort of ad hoc play. What other games, in their announced lineup do you see that could really benefit from this? I think Mario Kart 8 Deluxe would be one.
Splatoon for sure.
Yeah. And these would really encourage the more handheld nature of the console, because obviously, well, I guess you could. I was going to say, it doesn't really work as well if you're on a TV, but I guess it still could. Someone could play on a TV and someone could play on their Switch.
Yeah.
Tablet wise. But my thing is, does it matter the fact that these games are far larger than things that would have been on the 3DS or DS?
I don't think so. I mean, how much larger is Mario Kart 8 Deluxe than Mario Kart 7 on 3DS? Like, yes, it's like bigger, like technically, but
I think it's notably bigger.
Yeah, but I don't see the big difference. Like, just make it work. But like you said, like, these are for like multiplayer, like limited like things. Like, it's not gonna let you play the whole game just because your friend has a game. Like, that's not
Mario Kart could be like like one cup or something.
Yeah, or just the battle modes. Like, I'm sure there are ways they can do it. I personally don't have much experience with doing it on 3DS, so I don't know how it worked at all.
Right.
But
it works super well. It was great for stuff. A lot of like more, like Mario Party or Mario Sports titles were really good because you were able to get, access to, say like one course in Mario Golf or something of that nature, right? Or a certain mode in Mario Party, and then if you have multiple cartridges, it enhances. Now you have access to the full list of multiplayer modes. In today's day and age, there's Wi-Fi everywhere, so the only way I see this being of any note is if they do have single cart play. I don't know the fact that it is being, touted mainly as a home console, though. I don't know that then they want to really encourage sort of this game sharing idea. That sort of ended up not panning out all that well for Microsoft when they tried to really go heavy on that at the onset of Xbox One.
Yeah, but it's cool, and it would be a consumer-friendly move.
Like, and it would be great for so many of these games. Bomberman,
Arms for sure,
Street Fighter, Snipper Clips, Mario Kart 8, Splatoon, like you mentioned. I mean, a lot of the titles could easily support it, and you look even further down the list, stuff like Puyo Puyo Tetris, eventually NBA 2K18. There's really almost half the stuff here could benefit, and I think it would be a really great move from Nintendo. It's interesting again that this is something else that like we don't have a surefire answer to. You know, we're still waiting on Virtual Console. We're still waiting on this. And I think it's interesting. You know, I'm looking at the comments on this article, and we'll link provide sourcing for Go Nintendo who picked up on this. But in the comments, you have people saying like, at this point, I expect the feature. And I think those expectations are set because of the handheld. And again, this ties into that discussion of like, how does the Switch end up being viewed by a mass market audience, right? By hardcore gamers, we understand it's a dual purpose device. But, you know, if people view it as a handheld, then they probably expect it because that's what DS and 3DS did. If they view it as a console, you know, it's really not even in the conversation, right?
Yeah, and I was listening to a podcast on my drive home today, and they were talking about the Switch, and you know, if it's a mistake for Nintendo to be like driving home the fact that this is a home console constantly, because at the end of the day, Nintendo can call it a home console all they want, but if the people decide like, hey, this is my handheld or portable console, that's what it's going to be. Like, Nintendo doesn't like dictate that with their messaging. It's the consumer that's going to decide primarily how this thing is used.
And I do think eventually it does. Like, my prediction is eventually it does go more the way of a handheld.
I think so too, and there's nothing wrong with that, especially because, you know, there's already Xbox One, there's already PS4, so, you know, home consoles, Nintendo's behind, unfortunately, but no one else is trying to do handheld. No one.
Right.
So
another comment here points out, you know, this guy's a dad and he wants to get Switches for himself, his wife, and his 2 kids. They all love Nintendo. They don't want to pay $240, you know, for 4 copies of the games or whatever. I think that sounds a little much. 64 times 4 would be, I guess it would be even more than that. Anyhow, if they're, I guess, full price titles, I was thinking more some of the smaller stuff. But yeah, he says, you know, he doesn't want to pay $240, $250 for Splatoon 2 for everyone. Do you think Nintendo, even if they don't do download play, do you think that with their, you know, heavy family-friendly emphasis, they would do some sort of, you know, family plan or some sort of, you know, licensing program where you could authorize, you know, a couple copies, almost like a sign-in program?
I mean, but the thing then becomes like, you're already buying like multiple Switches at that point. Like, all right, so if you, your brother, your dad, like you guys all have Switches, you're spending over $1,000 if 4 of you have
I mean,
them.
I absolutely don't think this happens. I thought it was just an interesting point that someone brought up. Because Microsoft does have something similar for Xbox Live.
Yeah,
and you can download, you know, games onto other Xboxes, so it wouldn't be like that far out of the realm of the possibility. But to me, again, now this is where that sort of back and forth comes into play. The fact that it's a handheld and can be taken everywhere and separated, you know, because the Xbox Ones, for the most part, all stay in the same house. So it's like, okay, most likely they're just going to share the disc. If we don't allow this family licensing, they're just going to share the disc. But with Switches, taking them everywhere, you know, it could be far more abused. So, I mean, if I had to make a prediction, I sadly guess that neither of these things are included in the hardware.
Yeah, again, the tweet leaves it too open to interpretation. I don't think Konami is actually like confirming that, like, yes, you can have one disc and like share with like 4 friends. I don't think that's like the confirmation wasn't what they were trying to do, but maybe it worked on 3DS. So like, and 3DS is pretty successful now, so why not carry it over? But
I'd absolutely love to see it. I think, and as we pointed out, like it really would work for so many of these launch games. And, you know, they did talk about, you know, they're going to try to bring in online to some legacy titles. You know, their free game of the month plan, that includes an NES or Super Nintendo. They said that they're going to be incorporating online. So, again, that's something where, you know, download play could really, really help them out. And I'm sure, I think it's probably impossible to quantify, but I'm sure that at some point, download play contributed to a lot of extra sales for games, and maybe not right off the bat, but, you know, helping out with sort of the evergreen nature of some Nintendo titles. You get to play those mini games on like New Super Mario Bros, or you get to play, you know, as Shy Guy in a Mario Kart race, even though you don't have the game. That probably plays a role into some you know, past the release window purchases.
Yeah, I mean, that's a fair point. Like, if you have Mario Kart and I don't, and we play it, and I have a good time, and I want to play it again, and you're not around, I'm going to buy Mario Kart. So, I mean, it helps, you know, to push software sales at the very least. So,
absolutely. Would you guys like to see AdHoc single cart multiplayer, or at least some sort of family licensing plan for the Switch, or do you think it doesn't make sense given the fact that this can function as both a handheld and a home? You know, when I say that, it's funny because it's like, if it was just a handheld, well, you'd expect there to be AdHoc. If it was just a home, you'd expect there to be some sort of family licensing. But because it's both, it may not have either, which is sort of interesting. But anyways, let us know your thoughts on where you think Nintendo will go. They've got about a month until this thing launches, so hopefully all will be revealed soon. Until that time, thanks so much for watching. Hope you guys are enjoying the videos. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already. And until next time, for myself and Gabe, Switch Force out.